All banks in Cyprus will stay closed until Thursday. And when they do open, the central bank says there will be limits on what people can take out. But what will happen when they lift those controls? In the week they've been closed, a bailout deal's been struck that hits large depositors very hard. We're joined by Cyprus's Finance Minister, Michalis Sarris. Good morning.
Good morning.
Can you guarantee that banks will open on Thursday? Because, of course, it's been suggested for some days that banks are about to open. Will they open on Thursday?
Yes, I think they will. I think we needed some time to put together a balanced package of some restrictions. Balanced in the sense that on the one hand, we want the economy to return to as normal a pace as possible, while on the other hand, trying to prevent massive outflows that would be understandable given the protracted period of uncertainty and insecurity that has characterized the previous few weeks. So it was a matter of being technically ready to reopen the banks. We have the backing of the European Central Bank to support our new large institutions. Most of the small foreign banks have a strong liquidity. So we think that with this set of measures that, as I say, will be reasonable, and with an exit timing from this period of controls.
Okay, can I ask?
Sufficient to.
Sorry, forgive me for interrupting, but can I ask you what is reasonable? What are you planning? That these controls would only affect the big depositors in two banks? Would they affect all depositors in those two banks, or would it be more wide?
I think we are working on this. We will probably have a two-tier system. I think the restrictions will be probably a bit stricter on the two large banks, and with the other banks there will also be a system that will limit the size and the frequency of the amount of money that can be moved for a period until it stabilizes. So the exact detail, actually, we are going to meet in an hour or so with the bankers themselves to see what it is that they themselves consider necessary, and we balance that with the public interest.
Okay, but you're planning restrictions on all banks. You talk about...
Yes, I think... Sorry?
I just wanted to clarify that. But also in terms of the timing, you say they will be temporary. Iceland, of course, imposed capital restrictions, and it's reckoned that they're going to still be in place in 2015. What does temporary mean to you?
Well, I think you're raising a fair point. Anytime you impose any kind of restrictions, you are faced on what you do on the day that you have to lift them. That's why generally it is not a good idea. But we are facing an emergency. This is really an unprecedented experience that we are going through. We are confident that as we move forward to completing an agreement with the European Union, which is now a matter of weeks to finalize the memorandum of understanding, and as the funding becomes available and confidence begins to be reestablished, and there will be some bleeding, some outflow, we believe that will be controlled. And once we get the message that things begin to get back to normal, I think we will be able to lift those controls.
Okay, but just what time frame are you thinking of? Are you talking months? Are you talking years?
No, not at all. Not at all. My own sense, although I don't, I think we are talking a matter of weeks. That would be my sense.
And has a decision been made? Those who have deposits of over 100,000, how much are they going to be hit by?
Well, again, what we do know is that those below 100,000 will not be hit. Those above, we are now working out the details. It depends whether we protect pensions funds this way or another way. So the exact percentage is not yet decided, but it is going to be significant. I am afraid that people that have larger than 100,000 will have to exchange them for bank shares, and that obviously is part of this tremendous cost that we are paying in affecting this correction.
So you're talking about, what, 40%? Is that fair?
It could be in that neighborhood, but I do not want to anticipate it. But what I have seen suggests a number in that neighborhood.
You, of course, went to Russia to see if they could help out in any way, and I recall you saying that you would stay as long as it takes. Is there still any prospect of some Russian help to help Cyprus with its economy?
I think there we were faced a bit with a chicken and egg problem, that the Russians understandably perhaps wanted whatever help to be in the context of an agreement. Getting some help from the Russians would have facilitated the agreement. In the end, we didn't get it. As we now move forward with an agreement, at the minimum we will have an extension and the improvement of the terms of the existing loan that we have from the Russians, and then we will get into some greater exploration of other ways, some things that we put on the table that there was not sufficient time, and to be frank, not an appetite to do it in a vacuum, with the Europeans putting forward the point that this is a family affair, let's try to sort it out first. So there was tension on both sides there that I think will be relieved once we have this memorandum of understanding in place, once we have the Troika fully committed behind the program. Then I believe the Russians will be looking at us with a greater desire to move forward with some economic cooperation that would be helpful to the recovery of the economy.
There are, just briefly, some fairly gloomy forecasts about what's going to happen to the economy now. Some talk of it shrinking by a quarter. What would be your assessment?
I think it's fair to say that we have taken a step backwards. I think, as you know, the Irish economy had a similar problem, contracted by as much as 20%. We are fully aware that there is a correction. There were bubbles that burst. We now have to pick up the pieces, but we have faced difficult situations before. We have the prospects of an energy boom that could help us. So yes, there will be an adjustment downward of standard of living, of incomes, of things that we have taken for granted. But at the same time, we are hopeful. I think the Cypriot people have shown entrepreneurship, ingenuity, and ability to pick up after falling down. So I am confident. Yes, there will be a problem, but we will overcome it in a relatively short period of time.
Michalis Sarris, thank you very much for talking to us.